Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a teen is abducted into the woods by a prolific offender, and Iran says we're using Kamikaze Dolphins? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Katie Wilson is a national embarrassment. A national embarrassment. It seems every day this week so far, she has gone viral for something stupid she did. Whether it's she can't answer questions at a press conference, whether she's so dumb she just says bye, like bye, to the tech sector, to the jobs here, to coffee giants, to big name brand companies here in Seattle. Whatever it is, she is unqualified for this job. Somebody asked me today. They said, would you rather live under Katie Wilson in Seattle, or would you rather live under Zoran Mamdani in New York? Took a second, thought about it. And I said, Zoran Mamdani, not because I want to live in New York, but because I know what I'm getting with Zoran Mamdani. I know he's a radical Islamist. I know he's a communist. I know what he's going to do in any given minute. I know he's predictable, very predictable. Katie Wilson's not. And the reason Katie Wilson's not predictable is because I don't know who's actually running the show over at Katie Wilson's mayor's office. She has people from SEIU, from Union. She has special interest inside her office. And clearly they're running the show, but this reminds me more of the Biden administration. During the Biden administration, we discussed a lot that we didn't know which cabinet secretary's agenda was going to be pushed that day and how it was going to conflict with any other cabinet secretary. This is what happens when you have a rudderless ship. Joe Biden wasn't present. So the activist that got appointed by whoever, I guess by Joe Biden, but whoever was actually running the show over there, whether it was Jill Biden, who knows, Dr. Jill Biden, that is whose agenda went forward that day, and oftentimes they conflicted. Whether you like President Trump, whether you hate President Trump, his entire administration is in lockstep. This is what we do. And when somebody's not in lockstep or not cutting it, bye, like Joe Kent. He's out of there, right? Katie Wilson style, like bye, get rid of it. Now, inside Katie Wilson's office, you have these activists, you have these union reps, you have these people from social justice organizations. That's whatever they want in a particular day. They're using her as an empty suit, is what I believe is going on. That's what I think is happening. In fact, I've been on Newsmax the past couple days in the morning. Both shows were asking me about Katie Wilson. Here's what I said today when they were asking me about this.
Ari, you're there. You're like last man standing, though, holding down the fort in Seattle. She was about to answer it, and that handler came in. It was so awkward. I mean, if anything, 101, the camera's rolling. You know it's going to go viral.
Yeah, my bigger concern with somebody like Katie Wilson is she's an empty vessel being used by the people around her. This is a person who constantly dodges the media, ends interviews, says stay on topic, needs lots of prep because she doesn't have a single thought in her own head. If she had an original thought in her head, it would die of loneliness. This is a person who is clearly being run by other people who have their own agenda. You can tell just by looking at her staff, the union members that are there, the radical activists that are there. And so they want her on message, and they know she's not capable of taking any topic, any questions on any topic that's not related to what's going on at hand, because she can't even handle those.
Now, it's not just the right, like Newsmax or Fox News, that's ripping Katie Wilson. Let's not forget almost every single editorial board in the entire country has ripped her stupidity. Most recently, the Washington Post. The Washington Post, which is definitely not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. But she is so incompetent that even the Washington Post is going after her. So I started writing op-eds for the New York Post from time to time. And the way it works, a little peek behind the curtain, is once you're on their op-ed staff, when you say something, hey, I think this would make a good op-ed, you send it to your editor and they say yes or no, and then you write it. So the other day, when Katie Wilson was going viral 2 times ago for something stupid, I sent an email to the nice lady and I said, hey, do you want an op-ed on her stupidity and what's happening to Seattle? And she goes, we got one of those already, but don't worry. I'm sure it'll come up in the next few days again and we'll take it then. Because these gaffes are becoming a regular occurrence. This is happening more and more often. What's the latest one? I'm going to pull the story from Como, but this is what's going on nationally. A newly released video shows 2 men attacking a 77-year-old man who was walking down the street in downtown Seattle last month. The incident was captured by the city's real-time crime center surveillance cameras, which monitor public areas that have been identified as crime hotspots. Stop. You've seen these things before. They're usually the ones with the blue blinking light on them. Those are specifically the crime ones, and specifically the ones that Katie Wilson wants to turn off. Now, this case here, you just see an old man walking, minding his own business. 2 black teens see him, decide to accost him, and decide to beat the hell out of him. They don't even want to rob him. They just say, here's a victim. We think he's weak. We're going to beat the hell out of him. And that's what the video shows. In the video, the victim is seen walking slowly southbound on 3rd Avenue, approaching a pharmacy at the corner of Pike Street. Without any prior interaction, the 2 men shove the man to the ground, punch him. Then they are seen walking away from him, and then they go back and kick him for more, and none of the witnesses to the attack come help him out in any way, shape, or form. The video then shows the 2 suspects walking to McDonald's on 3rd and Pine. Seattle police body cameras recorded a witness pointing out the suspects. Police arrested Ahmed Abdullahi Osman, 29, of Bellevue. Osman was later charged with second-degree assault. The second suspect was not arrested at the time, but after reviewing the surveillance video of the attack, police are now looking for him. Stop. Katie Wilson wants to turn off those cameras. Katie Wilson doesn't want those cameras on. She said this not too long ago.
This is legislation that will expand CCTV cameras, that could potentially be taken control of by the Trump administration. And this is legislation that was opposed by immigrants' rights groups, by civil liberties groups, and by the member of color caucus in the legislature. And I'll quote from their letter. This technology, and technology similar to it, has recently been in the news for its failure to be meaningfully and consistently secured, leading to breaches that could result in sensitive data being shared by ICE and putting our immigrant and refugee communities at risk.
Oh, give me a break. So this is what she wants. She wants to turn these things off because of ICE. Let me explain something to everybody. I was talking to some people about these cameras. This is the biggest lie that has been told, I'll say, the past 2 months. Why? ICE can't just hack these things. They need a warrant to hack these things. You need passwords. There are tons of security restrictions on these suckers. You can't just get it. ICE can ask for it. You don't have to give it to them unless they get a warrant, unless they get a federal bench warrant. But you can't just get into these suckers. Just like they can't get into your Ring doorbell footage unless Amazon was providing it to them, which apparently they were for a little while. You need them to actually have a warrant for that information. So you want to talk to Flock, the company that makes these things, then say, hey guys, we want to make sure our information is locked down, and that's it. So what was the first thing they told us? Well, these cameras are going to replace police officers because pursuits are very, very dangerous. And this way we can just follow a suspect, go get him later, and not have to do the dangerous pursuit, assuming there was just one victim and they're not on a murdering spree along the way. But now they're saying, nope, can't even do the cameras. So no cops, no cameras. What exactly do you want? You're hanging a big bullseye on Seattle right before the World Cup with which countries are coming to town? Egypt and Iran. One of those places don't like us very much right now. And you are literally saying to the world, we're going to turn off these cameras. How is Ahmed Abdullahi Osman, 29, of Bellevue located? Through these cameras. Witnesses pointed him out to police officers. Police officers reviewed the camera footage, confirmed it was him. Guess what? That's how you caught him. You also have evidence of the crime. How many times have we been told, well, there's no video evidence of the crime, so we can't prosecute anybody, so we're going to release them? Oh, by the way, King County prosecutors, Seattle police booked Osman into jail the night of the assault. He was released before a bail hearing while police were still investigating the case. So you release this lunatic who randomly beat up a 77-year-old man for no reason whatsoever. This is the most Seattle story I have ever heard. Prosecutors have since requested a bail of $200,000. A judge issued an arrest warrant for Osman on April 30th. Jail records show he has not been apprehended since his initial release. So, this is a failure of almost every single level of government. 1, the police didn't get the information to the prosecutor in time. The prosecutor didn't do what they could to keep this guy behind bars. And the mayor wants to turn off the cameras that helped find this guy. Is Seattle beyond saving? So now when you look at somebody like Katie Wilson, does she actually believe all this? Because she's a communist. This is a person who wants everything you have. This is a person who wants to track every movement of yours. This is a person who wants absolute control because that's what communists want. She wants absolute control of everything. You really think she wants those cameras off? No, she wants the cameras for herself. She doesn't want the government to have access to them, meaning the federal government. She doesn't want police to have access to them. She wants you so scared, living in fear, that you'll give over all your rights to the local government. That's what Katie Wilson wants. Or is it what Katie Wilson wants? Or what one of her handlers wants? Now, when this guy, Osman Ahmed or Ahmed Osman, whatever his name is, when he was being arrested, there's some body camera footage of the police officers. Do you remember back when we had that ridiculous no police pursuits law where the Democrats said in that case, let's just use cameras instead? Well, now they don't want to use the cameras, right? You remember when they were banning police pursuits and a guy called 911 and cited the law and said, you have to tell the police to back off. They can't be pursuing me. Well, we had a similar issue here. According to the body camera footage from the police officers, when they rescued this guy knew he had a friend in government. Give a listen.
I work for the state. You work for the state? You know Katie? Yeah. Yeah, I know Katie. The mayor. Yeah. That's it. That's almost it. That's my last word. Is there camera? On? Yeah. That's it. That's almost out there. No, you're being audio and video recorded, just so you know, man.
So he's claiming Katie Wilson is a friend of his. Now, mind you, do I think he's actually a friend of the mayor's? No. But he thinks he has a friend in the mayor. He thinks that somebody like Katie Wilson looks at a black 20-something-year-old who assaulted somebody and goes, oh, that's racism. We got to release this guy right away. Make sure the mayor sees my case. Make sure the mayor sees my case. A guy like this knows he can get away with a crime like this because the police aren't going to keep him behind bars because a prosecutor's not going to prosecute. And the people at the very, very top say you can't prosecute somebody because of the color of their skin. This is why Katie Wilson went viral again overnight. When this video footage came out and Katie Wilson is the one saying we shouldn't be using these video cameras, and this is how they caught this suspect, once again, Katie Wilson or whoever is pulling her strings was wrong. Yet again. Or they're so open-minded their brains fall out. Or they're so progressive they don't understand the stupidity. Maybe we should just try enforcing the law. Oh, what a shock that is. Maybe we should just try enforcing, prosecuting criminals. Oh, shock. What a crazy, crazy idea that might actually be. Yet here in Washington, here in Seattle, we can't figure out why people don't want to be in the state anymore. Why they don't want to be in the city anymore. Why they don't want to be downtown anymore. Because a 77-year-old man can't walk to the pharmacy relatively early in the evening without getting the crap kicked out of him because criminals know nothing is going to happen to them. You remember we played that clip for you? I believe it was last year, of a teen who I think was involved in a carjacking, and he was shocked that they weren't just releasing him to his house because he was told, oh, they're just going to put you on home arrest. You'll be fine. You can go to school. You'll have a tracker. And the audio, he was shocked that he actually got punished by a judge, as were we all here in Washington. Shocked. Because here in Washington, here in Seattle, we don't actually prosecute the law. You have people like Katie Wilson or whoever's running Katie Wilson. Somebody sent me this article today from the Seattle Times. Do you remember a name? I wonder if you guys remember this. He was actually in studio a couple of years ago when we were discussing the Climate Commitment Act. Do you remember a guy, former Senator Joe Wynn?
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
Senator Joe Wynn, State Senator Joe Wynn, is one of the people responsible for the Climate Commitment Act. Shortly after the Climate Commitment Act, which spiked your gas prices by a minimum of 55 cents a gallon, after he left office, he went into the private sector. Now, the Seattle Chamber of Commerce has recruited him because he speaks socialist. And they figure somebody like Joe Wynn will have greater success talking to somebody like Katie Wilson than they will. They figure the socialist will be able to communicate with the socialist. There's one teensy tiny little problem here. You can never be left enough for the far left. So Joe Wynn goes into the private sector, leaves government. Now he realizes, hey, I like money. We want to keep the money. I want to make the money. So he's working with the Chamber of Commerce. And now he's representing their ideals. Well, to anybody on the left, a guy like Joe Wynn is now a sellout. Why should we listen to you? The mistake the Seattle Chamber of Commerce is making is assuming that Katie Wilson can be reasoned with, that whoever is running her can be reasoned with, and you can never reason with the far, far left activists. There are plenty of people I can have a discussion with. For example, Democrat Lauren Davis. She is definitely not on the right. She is definitely on the left, firmly implanted on the left. But her and I can have conversations because she can admit when a policy has failed. And I could say, hey, I feel this way about youth justice, and we can have a conversation. And we've had multiple conversations before. When I had Joe Wynn in this studio, he sat across from me and Todd Myers, who he was debating, and lied his you-know-what off. So now Joe Wynn wants to make a few bucks. Now Joe Wynn wants to work in the private sector. And now they think he speaks socialist so he can reason with Katie Wilson. I'll be shocked if that works because the socialists will think that he is a sellout because now he's working for the man. Now he's working for business. Because it's not that they hate business. Socialists love business. They just want it for themselves. They want to use it. They want to work it until they destroy it. It's like that scene in Goodfellas. You know the tiki lounge they're always hanging out with at the beginning of the movie? And the guy's having the issues with Joe Pesci, right? They're having the issues with him, so he goes to Paulie, and he says, Paulie, you got to help me. You got to help me. And Paulie's like, what, you want me to be a partner? All right, I'll be a partner. I'll be a partner. And then they overmortgage the place. They start running all their illegal operations out of the place until Joe Pesci and Ray Liotta burn the place down. That's what the left wants to do to successful businesses. And the Seattle Chamber, I get where you're coming from. You figure, okay, we tried being business friendly. Maybe if we try being socialist friendly, that'll work. But I'll remind everybody that that hasn't worked either because they will see somebody like Joe Wynn as a sellout because now he's in with business and business is evil. Even though Homeless Inc. and nonprofits are one of the biggest businesses here in Seattle, King County, and Washington State. Even though the government is one of the biggest businesses, the biggest hire of employees here in Washington State. Because really what they want is to take everything. You think it's about defunding the police? No, they want their own police. You think it's about getting rid of the cameras? No, they want the cameras for their purposes to surveil you. What are those conservatives doing? What are those Republicans doing? You think they want to get rid of businesses? No, they want businesses they can control that will do whatever they say and turn it over to them so they can destroy it. Who's actually pulling the strings over here? Somebody like Joe Wynn? Don't think so. It's these radical activists from SEIU and different nonprofits that I think are running Katie Wilson. Who do you think is running Katie Wilson? Who do you think is actually running Seattle? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. 5757, because bad politicians lead to bad policies, and not prosecuting crime leads to more crime. Because when we come back, my friends, a prolific offender who should have been in jail many times over was somehow able to abduct a teenage girl and drag her into the woods while she was just waiting for the bus. So we'll give you the details. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. A lot of feedback on our last segment about Katie Wilson. When I asked, who do you think is actually running the show over there? Do you think it's her or do you think it's somebody else? So Robert says over on the text line, who placed her at the Transit Riders Union? Follow the money. She actually created that thing. But yes, following the money, we'll see who the donors were to that. And we know there's going to be some crossover. Ken in Everson says it's hard to say who actually is running Katie Wilson in Seattle, but it sure seems like it's Larry, Moe, and Curly. Very good. Becky in Enumclaw says, I don't know who's running Katie Wilson. She is in way over her head. I don't think she'll make it through her term. Seattle will be lucky if she doesn't. I'll tell you this, Becky. I think she's going to make it through the term just fine. She's not going to drop out. She's not going to quit because whoever is running her can use her to their advantage this entire time. And here's something else. The Seattle City Council probably loving this because nobody's talking about their stupidity. They just talk about her stupidity. And they're like, let her take all the blame. Let her take all the flack. Let her take all the problems nationally. Now nobody's looking at the Seattle City Council anymore. This one from the 206. Oh, a request. Ari, can your team put together a montage of Democrats lobbying for the cameras and circle back with them for comment? Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know if we could do a montage because I don't know if they said it or put it in statements. We can go looking for it. Drop me an email with this, arikvi.com, because that's actually a really good idea. And my email is my to-do list, so we'll put it right there. This one from the 206. Ari, did the mayor's office slow walk permission to use the evil video recording? Is that why he was released for lack of evidence during that delay? There's a bunch of reasons. You're only allowed to hold somebody for so long, and sometimes it takes a while to get all the camera footage. Sometimes you got to actually get a warrant so it's obtained legally. It's not one of those things where just, well, we have the footage, here you go. It sometimes takes a little bit more because if you do it illegally and you don't get the warrants correctly and you bypass it, then any bad public defender will get that case thrown out. This one here, another one from the 206. Can a mayor be impeached due to embarrassment of the city? Oh, I wish. If only. If only, if only, if only. Anyway, switching gears to another case around here. And this one you may have heard about, but we have a new development with it. Seattle police arrested a 35-year-old man Monday morning after he allegedly assaulted a teenage girl in the city's Northgate neighborhood. SPD said officers responded around 9 a.m. to reports of a man attempting to drag a girl into a wooded area near Northeast 103rd Street and 5th Avenue Northeast. When officers arrived, they found the victim with minor injuries. The suspect had fled the scene on foot. Seattle Fire Department crews treated the girl at the scene, and medics transport her to Seattle Children's Hospital for further evaluation. Detectives with the department's Sexual Assault and Child Abuse Unit responded and also did an evaluation there as well. At around 10:50 a.m., officers located the suspect near Aurora Avenue North and North 115th Street, took him into custody. He was transported to Seattle Police Headquarters to be interviewed by detectives. Now, according to the initial report from the SPD blotter, police said the suspect also had multiple outstanding warrants from Snohomish County and Puyallup Municipal Court. He was booked into the King County Jail for investigation of rape and kidnapping. Well, it looks like he just had his hearing. So we got some breaking news for you.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
So I am reading this right out of the information I just got from the King County prosecutors. This afternoon, there was a first appearance hearing for Joshua Kawasaki, the person arrested in the North Seattle rape and kidnapping investigation involving a 15-year-old girl. The King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office argued there was probable cause for rape in the first degree, rape of a child in the third degree, and kidnapping in the first degree. After hearing from prosecutors and the defense, the first appearance court found probable cause for the defendant's arrest on investigation of those offenses. The defendant did not come to the first appearance hearing. He stayed in jail, so bail was not addressed today. He has active warrants from cases that are separate from the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Why was this guy out of jail? Let's see what he had active warrants out for and what his criminal history includes. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through the document here in real time. Now you see how we get our news. The first was a 2024 arrest and a felony robbery investigation for allegedly trying to steal someone's bike in Shoreline. Sounds like one of our unsheltered neighbors dragging a girl into the woods, stealing bikes. The victim fell, and he hurt his hand, but declined aid. Prosecutors said he should be referred to the Shoreline City prosecutor for misdemeanor prosecution. Well, was he? The second was a 2025 arrest for biting a security guard in a shoplifting incident. In their initial report, police said security video showed a tussle, but the officer could not clearly see a bite. Police officers decided to send the case to the Seattle City Attorney's Office. Was it prosecuted or not. And I can't even blame the new one for that. That's Ann Davidson's territory. That's when she was running the show. Just seems like nobody gets prosecuted around here. Third arrest happened earlier this year. He was arrested in Snohomish County for domestic violence, assault warrant, and police said he possessed fentanyl. Can't be one of our unsheltered neighbors, right? A misdemeanor under the law. Had that misdemeanor case been charged in district court, which handles misdemeanors, it almost certainly would not have resulted in jail time under the law. So, don't prosecute for deadly drugs, even with a conviction, because it fit the Therapeutic Alternative Diversion Program criteria in collaboration with public health. So, he was diverted, instead of actually being prosecuted. You want to know why a prolific offender was out of jail? I see a case in Shoreline, he wasn't prosecuted. I see a case in Seattle, he wasn't prosecuted. And I see a case in Snohomish County where he wasn't allowed to be prosecuted. So now he went on to allegedly rape a 15-year-old girl who was on her way to school. This is sick. This is twisted. This is the city we live in now, thanks to these failed policies. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Susan in Renton. Susan, what's up? Hello, Susan. Yeah.
Hi. I just heard from my PT this morning that he thinks that it's Shama Sawant that's operating Katie Wilson.
Shama Sawant? You think she's pulling the strings?
Yeah.
So Shama Sawant, interestingly enough, her radical band of lunatics is showing up every single night, I hear, in Bellevue to protest at Adam Smith's house to drive him bonkers. It's interesting he thinks that she's the one running the city. What evidence does he have for this, or is this just a guess?
Just a guess. He lives in Seattle, so I don't know what proof he has, but
if it was Shama Sawant, I would think Katie Wilson would be talking about more tax. Oh, wait. She was talking about more taxes. If it was Katie Wilson, I think she'd be talking about defunding the police. Well, this is the new defunding the police, shutting off the cameras. Interesting, Susan. We will have to look into this. I appreciate the call. Appreciate the theory. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. John in Lakewood, Dan Smith, and a few others of you are all saying you think that it's the Marxists like Soros and people like Bernie Sanders, those kind of people running her, or maybe just run-of-the-mill Marxists that we have all over the place for no reason whatsoever around here. Up next, my friends, Iran is really desperate. So desperate, they're accusing the U.S. of using Kamikaze Dolphins on them. I kid you not. This was actually asked today. We'll give you all details and the insane audio when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Those two segments were a little heavy. Let's lighten things up around here, shall we? We all know we live in the most ridiculous timeline, right? Really, really do. Well, anytime you are fighting one of these jihadi countries, they always make up the most ridiculous claims about the infidels. I remember there have been stories about spy sharks, spy dolphins, spy pigeons, you name it. Those are the claims they make against Israel all the time, and now apparently they're making them against America. Today at a Pentagon briefing, I kid you not, a reporter asked if the U.S. was using Kamikaze Dolphins. I kid you not, Kamikaze Dolphins. Yes, let your AI go to work, my friends. I want to see a Kamikaze Dolphin. Oh, painted in the red, white, and blue like he's with the U.S. Navy. That's what they were. This reporter actually asked us in all seriousness. Here is General Raisin Cane's response.
Can you kind of clarify these reports of Kamikaze Dolphins that we've heard about?
I haven't heard the Kamikaze Dolphin thing. It's like sharks with laser beams, right?
Sharks with laser beams on their heads? All right, the general's ranking, he just scored a few brownie points with me. Throws out an Austin Powers reference right there in the middle of a press briefing. Now, Pete Hegseth also had a good sense of humor about this.
And I can't confirm or deny whether we have Kamikaze Dolphins, but I can confirm they don't, ultimately.
What is happening? What is happening right now, Kamikaze Dolphins? What are we talking about? Now, whether you like the Trump administration, whether you hate the Trump administration, they are very, very social media savvy. What's one of the biggest jokes on the internet and has been since President Trump got into office? During one of those first meetings in the Oval Office, Marco Rubio is sitting there looking like he'd rather be anywhere else in the world than in the Oval Office. He's just sitting there with his hands folded in his lap on that yellow couch. Somebody got a picture of it, and this has become internet fodder. Where first it started with when Trump was firing everybody. Oh, here's Marco Rubio finding out he has to be the head of USAID. Here's Marco Rubio finding out he has to be the head of this, the head of that. That's the joke. But then people started using AI to put Marco Rubio in different costumes, like dressing him like the Ayatollah. Oh, we just found out Marco Rubio has to be in charge of Iran. I mean, you name it, some of the most ridiculous things you have ever seen. I myself have enjoyed the Marco Rubio memes. One of them, when the Mets are doing terribly and still don't have a first baseman, was I put him in a Mets uniform. Marco Rubio, when he finds out he has to be the first baseman for the New York Mets. This has been great. Marco Rubio, even at one point, said in a social media post, he listed all the memes that had trended virally. And he says, I am taking over these jobs, but not. And then he listed like 30 of them. Well, today, Marco Rubio gave the press briefing. Now, he made this joke a few days ago because Caroline Leavitt went on maternity leave. So he walked in, he said, here I am, I'm your new press secretary. Well, today, he actually did the entire briefing. Because guess what it was about? It's about Project Freedom. It's about what's going on with Iran. So let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Marco, what's going on?
As you know, over the weekend, the president announced this Project Freedom. And the goal of it is to, frankly, if you want to talk about it, it's to rescue like almost 23,000 civilians from 87 different countries that are trapped inside of the Gulf and left for dead in the Persian Gulf by this Iranian regime. You know, for more than 2 months now, these innocent sailors and commercial crew members have been stranded out at sea because Iran is conducting something that's not just criminal. It's criminal for sure, but it's desperate and destructive, this blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. Nations from around the world, the overwhelming majority of whom are not even engaged in any military hostilities, are now at risk not just of losing their cargo, but the lives of their own citizens because of this blockade. These ships, you know, you don't leave a ship out there for this long. You start running out of food, you start running out of potable water, essential supplies, and they're at the mercy of this piracy. And what it is, it's piracy. And not only that, but some of them have seen, you know, been opened fire on and rained down senseless attacks on several civilian ships already. So frankly, the way to put it, these are innocent bystanders. These are countries that, and ships and so forth that have nothing to do with any of this and nonetheless are being caught in the middle of it and being held hostage merely because Iran could do that, just because of just as the regime brutally slaughtered tens of thousands of their own citizens for the crime of peaceful protest.
So he's 100% right in that. And also, you don't realize this. There's 1,000 ships that are trapped because of Iran. They're not trapped because of the U.S.'s blockade. They're trapped because of Iran's blockade of don't go through the Strait of Hormuz because we have mines there or our ships are going to take you out. We're going to blow you up. That's why they're trapped. So you got to be thinking to yourself, where are these other countries to come help? If there's 1,000 ships out there, you got to imagine some of them are from European countries. How come you guys aren't sending your ships to help? You can't get your oil. You can't get your sailors. You can't get your cargo. You can't get your ships. And yet, the only time they were willing to help is when they thought the conflict was over. That's when they said they were willing to help. Question is, are they even able to help? They've let their militaries get so badly in shape. It's just call America. America will come help us out. Well, now we have to solve this problem for the rest of the world. Here's what Marco Rubio said about this.
The last point I would make, and it really is important for them to understand this, is they really shouldn't test the will of the United States, at least not under President Donald Trump. He has proven time and again that he will back up what he says. And if they test him, ultimately they will lose. The hard way, the easy way, the long way, the short way, they will lose.
Now, what about that whole thing about Operation Epic Fury? Because the media and the Democrats are claiming, oh, the war's gone on too long without an official declaration of war. Well, Marco Rubio made the case for exactly what's going on right now.
Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal. He would prefer to sit down, work out a memorandum of understanding for future negotiations that touches on all the key topics that have to be addressed, a full opening of the strait so the world can get back to normal. He preferred that be negotiated through the route that Steve and Jared have been working and that all of us have been supporting. That's the route he prefers. That is so far not the route that Iran has chosen. And so the result has been that the United States has to do something about the fact that we're the only nation on earth that can do anything to open up a lane within the Straits of Hormuz to get product and to rescue these people that are trapped in there. And that's what we're undergoing now. What that may lead to in the future is speculative. I'm not going to speculate about what it would take or what it would do. But look, the message to Iran, these guys are facing, they are facing real catastrophic destruction to their economy, generational destruction to their economy, generational destruction to the wealth of their country, imposed on themselves by the actions that they're taking. They should check themselves before they wreck themselves in the direction that they're going.
I have always loved Marco Rubio. Before I was a fan of President Trump, Marco Rubio's who I wanted running for president. I really hope he runs in 2028. I really, really do. What do you guys think? You guys think we should have Marco as the nominee? You think it should be J.D. Vance? You think the Vance-Rubio ticket? What are you thinking, guys?
Is he your new man crush? You've given up, you're double time, and you're cheating on your boy?
It's not, when you're in high school and there's that girl you really like, but she didn't give you the time of day, like ever coming on your show, ever, Ron DeSantis, looking at you, dude, where literally the guy who said, this is my man crush, and you wouldn't come on the show. Hoffman doesn't forget. So am I ready to trade up for Rubio? How about this? I'm not going to jump in the water with both feet till we do a little reach out to the State Department and say, hey, is the secretary available to come on the show? Because actually, I hear he might be coming to town for the World Cup. And if he's coming to town for the World Cup and he sits as you-know-what down in the studio, he will officially be my new man crush, and he will get the theme music instead of Ron DeSantis.
I'm just glad he got that creamy mouth thing situated. Remember, he had that.
Yeah, well, let's be fair, okay?
Hydrated with a.
He was giving the response to the State of the Union. Yeah. He looked all. You know what that was? You put all those lights on somebody who's not used to it. He's chugging the water. He's got the mouth thing. Clearly, he's a little bit more polished, I think, in the theatrical arts, the public speaking arts, right? Well, we got another problem with some of the other Republicans. When we come back, my friends, I think they're overplaying their hand on the big, beautiful ballroom, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. When we come back, when the right gets it wrong, you're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Since the beginning of the project of the Big Beautiful Ballroom, I have said we 100% should do this. Number one, it doesn't make sense to keep renting venues all over the place, bringing the security over there to these unsecured facilities. The White House is a very secure facility. Trust me, as somebody who's been there before, it is not easy to get into the White House. It's apparently a lot easier to get into various hotels in the D.C. area, even with long guns. I am very much in favor of this project. The fact that it's paid for by private donors, I like. The fact that they may even be building a bunker under it because, hey, if you got the earth opened up and you haven't redone the bunkers in some time, let's redo the bunkers. I'm all in favor of all of this. I think this is great. However, the Senate Republicans have proposed $1 billion for security measures related to the White House ballroom project. Now, the problem is they're calculating, let's make the Democrats look bad. If we vote on this now, they're going to look like total you-know-whats for voting against it. And they're right. But you know the problem is right now? You know what you don't do right now is brag about how much money you're spending when people can't afford things at the pump. When you're seeing tons of fraud. When you're seeing the amount of money that Americans have is not what it should be. And when this thing is, your big claim to fame is that it's being paid for by private donors. If you need the security later, pay for the security later. Asking for $1 billion right now when this administration hung their hat on Doge and cutting out wasteful spending, the average American is just going to hear $1 billion on the Big Beautiful Ballroom and say, wait, I thought this thing was being paid for by private funds. Now they're using our taxpayer money to build a ballroom. You have just given a talking point to the left. You have just given a talking point to the left. And that is a problem. Over on the text line, Dan Smith really likes what Marco Rubio said when he said, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So Gen X. This one here, the 206, the Republican bench is deep, but Rubio has my vote over Vance. Yeah, by the way, we're good on our side. You look around at the Democrats, they're not good anywhere. They're in bad shape. Becky says, I'm a big fan of Marco Rubio. I think he is spectacular. J.D. Vance is great, but I'm really a fan of Marco Rubio. Robin Lakewood, Marco, very presidential. This one here referencing the Kamikaze Dolphins says, what is it, Operation Epic Dolphin? This one, Randolph says, Ari, yesterday I saw a Marco meme where he is in the Spirit Airlines stewardess uniform looking like he just lost her job. And I said, have you seen the video yet where somebody made an entire AI video of Marco Rubio doing all the jobs at Spirit Airlines, throwing the bags, and then what is he doing? Breaking up fights. That's what he's doing. This one here, John. All right, John gets the Austin Power jokes. He says the Iranians are using ill-tempered sea bass. Dan Smith may be a little bit older generation than that. He says it's Flipper. He's got the laser beam eyes. Flipper didn't have the laser beam eyes. He didn't have that at all. When we come back, my friends, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, but also Sound Transit has an ad campaign demonizing you for driving your car and calling you names. I don't think that's going to get people on the trains. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Kamala Harris says Karen Bass did a good job on safety and homelessness in Los Angeles. Are you kidding me with this? But before I forget, I want to remind you today is the last day of our Red, White, and Win contest at KVI.com. You get to pick your ticket. You get 2 tickets. You enter for your chance to win 2 tickets to one of the following shows. Lionel Richie, together with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Santana with the Doobie Brothers. Or Toto, featuring Christopher Cross and the Romantics. Now, you can only enter to win over at KVI.com. So you head on over there right now. It's the last day to do so. You can, however, buy tickets to these shows over at livenation.com. Don't forget, go over to KVI.com right now for your chance to win. Well, yesterday took a little longer than I thought it would, but yesterday we had the first problem with the light rail going across Lake Washington over on the I-90 bridge. Apparently, passengers were stuck for 40 minutes because of a power failure. Now, the last place I would want to be if I'm stuck is on a bridge. I know it's stable. I know it takes tons of cars every day. I've walked across that bridge before many times, but I wouldn't want to be there. One of the more ridiculous things I saw, it was an article in the Seattle Times, so of course it was ridiculous, but it was talking about if there should be life jackets now that the train is going across the bridge. Now, Kevin knows I hate Sound Transit, and I hate the light rail, and I hate all these things about it because of how over budget and behind schedule they are. But that hit on them is ridiculous. By that logic, you should keep life jackets in your car just in case you ever drive across a bridge. That's the logic they have there. I think that's just plain silly. See, call them balls and strikes. I think it's silly.
Yeah, I guess maybe it would make the case that it's a pretty long bridge, I guess. I don't know. It's like 2 sections, right? Like you got, I don't know.
It's not that long a bridge. I've been on long bridges before. And actually now, for the last week or so, I've been driving my daughter to school. I should say, she's been driving me to school. We're having daddy-daughter bonding time because she has to get her driver's license, so she has to get her hours in. And the best time for me is actually first thing in the morning, we go across the I-90 bridge. It's not that long. There are way longer bridges.
Maybe it's because it's floating. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's a silly thing. It was just clickbait. That's all that article was. But I assume that when you're sitting there and you feel the wind coming across and you're sitting there at a train and it's just there, you're like, maybe that life jacket wasn't such a bad idea right now. Maybe I kind of want that sucker, right? But that article was written a while ago. Okay, your first power outage. Was it copper wire theft? Was it the homeless are now on the bridge? This was the bridge where we found the homeless boats underneath them. Not right now. They're not there right now. But I remember, 2019, 2020. They found homeless boats underneath I-90. And, of course, the Star Trek joke at the time was, Captain, they've adapted, which you can see right there under the bridge. Was it copper wire theft or was it just equipment malfunction? Is this just, hey, equipment breaks? Is this the first in a sign of things to come? We don't know.
They didn't say?
We'll find out. It's not as specific as I would like. Not as specific as I would like. So, this comes the same day I found something else out. There is an ad campaign that is run by Sound Transit. One of our KVI listeners took a picture of a billboard, and it's a zombie on the billboard. And it says, break a mindless habit. And it's trying to say this person's holding, the zombie, is holding trying to put gas in its car. It's saying, break a mindless habit, use Sound Transit. And the Sound Transit logo is right there on the sucker. They sent me this yesterday, or 2 days ago. They sent me this, and they said, they steal our money for this train that nobody rides, and now they're insulting us also. You can't even take the money and just say, thank you. You got to insult us. Now, I got this image. I posted it on social media. It was very, very blurry from the camera they took this with, and I couldn't see it so well. So I decided to Google it. And guess what I found? The video and billboard. I found a video campaign that went with this. A video and billboard campaign.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've seen the commercials on TV.
Never seen them before.
And I thought, boy, these are stupid.
Yeah, very dumb. But this gets better. because you're about to hear the rest of this. It's created by a Seattle-based firm, Copacino Fujikada, and encourages commuters to abandon their cars in favor of the light rail. But let's go through the commercials they actually have, okay? First one is the zombie trying to get the gasoline, which you idiots are the same ones responsible for the spike in the gas prices. So that's kind of tone deaf to run this commercial. Okay, let's start there.
This thing that helped make you a zombie.
Uh-huh.
In return, we want you to
come on our train. Right. We want you to come on our train.
It's like a vicious circle there.
Exactly. Oh, wait, it gets better. The next one is the zombies driving the cars in traffic. Who made the roads worse, especially when you're talking about coming from North Seattle these days with I-5, who's in an active war on cars trying to get you out of your car, who's putting in the road diets and the speed bumps and the turning circles and the everything trying to slow down your commute? The same people behind Sound Transit. So you're now calling me a zombie for driving my car in the traffic that you helped create to incentivize people to take your stupid train. Okay, not a good look. Wait, this gets better. They also have one who walks over and sees a ticket on their car. So you're a zombie for getting a ticket on your car because you could have just taken Sound Transit. But why that one's the dumbest, in my opinion, is they have these parking lots for Sound Transit. You still have to get to the train station. And what happened just last week? They started saying, now you got to pay for those. Wasn't it nice having those free train stops? You've come to rely on those free parking lots. Guess what? Now you got to start paying for them. So I'm only paying for the ticket because of you guys. And you want me to ride your stupid train to get out of the tickets that you just did. Oh, also, what else do you get tickets for? Car tabs. Expired car tabs for the ones that we're not paying because it costs so much. So you're calling us zombies. Aside from that, what do we call the people that you see, the people of the light rail, when you're there late at night on the trains, the ones who are doped up on drugs? They look like zombies doing the Fetty Fold or whatever else it is. This is one of the dumbest marketing campaigns I have ever seen. So Ari Hoffman goes and posts this on social media yesterday. And it gets quite the reaction because most people had not seen these. And I think I'm on to like an exclusive story. I think I've actually beat the rush on this. And here's where I get to eat a little crow. That campaign was launched May 7th last year. This campaign was so ineffective that most people had no idea it even ran because one person DM'd me, and this thing has lots and lots of comments. One person, and said, you know, that thing's been running for a year now. I think it was actually somebody else in media. It was another local reporter said that thing's been running for a year now. I go, you should be even more mad because it was so ineffective. Nobody had any idea. And I went Google searching to see if anybody had written about this stupid campaign. Somehow a year later, I'm the first one. You're telling me if anybody else in conservative media hadn't seen this out, they wouldn't have done the exact same thing I did just now and demonized this thing? Of course they would have. But you spent taxpayer money on such a dumb, ineffective ad that nobody knows it's even been running for a year. A year now. Kevin, you saw it what? Once, twice?
No,
maybe?
I saw it enough to where it, I was like, this is
internalized.
It was one of those things where I was like, this is so dumb. Every time I saw it, I would sit and watch it because I was like, I'm trying to make sense of this. I mean, I understand the analogy, but it's dumb. It's a stupid analogy.
Yes.
Because one of them is like, the woman is like trying to put gas. She doesn't know how to do it. And then someone hands her like an orca card.
Yes.
And then she snaps out of it and becomes a human. And she's like, oh, look at this. I'm happy about this. I'm like, what?
And also that her arm falls off to the ground where now she's not a zombie anymore. That's kind of gross, by the way.
Now, it's really, I mean, the commercial's actually, kudos to the company that made it. It's actually produced pretty well. It's just dumb.
Now, what's funny is that company has it up on its website like, look at our work.
That's what I'm saying. It's produced.
It looks nice.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's a bad commercial.
Concept is terrible.
Right, especially, now, here's the other thing. I reached out to the company and I said, How much did they spend on this stupidity? And the company got back to me and said, ask Sound Transit. So we asked Sound Transit. It's been about 24 hours since I noticed this thing. No comment yet from Sound Transit. And I emailed every single one of their people. But here's the thing, guys. This thing went into play in 2025. This time last year, literally a year ago, in 2025. We still had the zombie issues. In fact, I would argue it was worse back then. You still had the Climate Commitment Act, gas taxes back then. You had all this. And these idiots are so tone deaf, they ran with these stupid commercials anyway. So tell me again, you want to demonize all the people who give you all the money that you are now $30 to $40 billion over budget on and behind schedule on. And you guys just announced you're not sure you could actually finish your promises to the local voters who voted this unelected, unaccountable board to spend all this money from Sound Transit. You can't even deliver on the West Seattle or Battle Link. In fact, you're going to have to find someone to pay for it, which means you're going to tax us more money. So please keep insulting us by calling us names when you are gouging us every which way you can for your train for zombies. The actual drug-addicted zombies that are riding on this stupid thing. Really? I mean, I just want to know if Sound Transit finds this whole thing offensive or not. How much of our taxpayer dollars do you think they spent on this thing? How much? 1 million? 2 million? 10 million? Well, a typical advertising campaign from this company is somewhere around $500,000 to $1 million. So knowing Sound Transit, what do you think? Over budget? So what? They spent $20 million on this? What do you think your over-under on this is? 1 million, 5 million, 20 million. These are very nicely produced, even though it's a stupid commercial and a stupid campaign. So how much do you think they spent on this? Give me your ballpark price. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. In fact, I'll offer this up. Do you think I am overreacting to this? I don't like being called names by people who are stealing money from me. You want to steal money from me? Okay, you're just the government. Now you want to steal money from me and demonize me for driving because I want to avoid the zombies on your stupid trains. Ari, don't play that. I don't like that at all. Speaking of old references, I do not like that at all.
And are you just a zombie when you're commuting, right? That's only if you're driving to and from work.
Well, it just said driving. It didn't say to and from work.
That's what's dumb too, is like there's plenty of times where you have to pretty much have a car.
Yeah.
Because this train only runs.
It doesn't run to West Seattle or Ballard, does it now?
Like, I guess maybe you wouldn't be a zombie if you're taking the buses, but
right.
I can assure you, like you said, there's plenty of zombies on the bus.
Right, and you're the one who always talks me down when I'm mad at Sound Transit, and even you think this is stupid.
I use the product from time to time. I'm gonna have a station 5-minute walk from my house that's gonna open soon. So I will use the product. I like the product.
Sure.
I don't justify the company. I don't think it's a great company. I don't think it does well with the money given to it and that sort of thing.
Sure.
But the end result is I do use it.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. You don't like being called names either because sometimes you got to drive.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And also, what about all the truck drivers who have to drive? You're not hauling eggs on the light rail to bring it to Safeway. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Craziness. Absolute craziness. Switching gears, though, Axios has been on a tear against Bob Ferguson because he limits press access so bad. So Melissa Santos, who's this writer, this journalist for Axios, has actually been doing a really, really good job. I take issue with one thing she said. We'll get to that in a second, but here's the latest article because we discussed previously that his office is holding up information. They're not putting out information in a timely manner. Well, now she says, since taking office, Washington Governor Bob Ferguson has held more Seahawks flag-raising ceremonies than actual press events, which I'm just giggling about this. She said Ferguson has departed from his predecessor's practice of holding regular, open-ended press availabilities, limiting public scrutiny of his administration. That's where I take issue, because it's not entirely true, Melissa. Governor Jay Inslee did have a lot of press conferences. He had them all the time. But they limited who they took questions from. And if they didn't think you were a real journalist, They stopped answering questions or they took you off the press list. So, for example, how do I know this? During COVID, when I was just starting out and I was just working for the Post Millennial, I didn't have my own radio show yet. I think I was doing a podcast at that point. I got on the governor's press list and I would send in questions regularly. And they were never allowed, I was never allowed to ask a question at any of those virtual press conferences. They weren't open-ended. They would always say something like, because they're on Zoom, any other questions? Any other questions? And I'd be raising my hand on the Zoom like, I got a question. Okay, I guess we're done for today. And I'm like, you're not done for today. And then young Ari Hoffman, who doesn't know how this world works, is like, I wonder if they're doing that to anybody else. So I started just reaching out for comment. And I would usually just get back snark from his guy in office. In fact, one time, his guy tried to have me fired. One time, his guy, Kevin's nodding his head. He's like, I remember that. He didn't like the questions I was asking about COVID, and he went to our bosses. About how I was asking questions. Didn't like it at all. So I don't want to, I like the whole article, Melissa. I really, really do. It's a good article. But Inslee was not exactly transparent either. He really, really wasn't. So Ferguson has taken questions at events tied to legislative milestones and at topic-specific press conferences, but has held no standing, unscripted availabilities of this kind his predecessors conducted. Jay Inslee, Ferguson's immediate predecessor, held a freewheeling press conference the day after his inauguration and continued holding regular open Q&As. That's not true. That's not true. Melissa, you did a great job with this article. You did a great job calling out Bob Ferguson. It's just not true. I can give you a little bit of the background on this. But Paul Query, former AP correspondent in Olympia who now works with the Washington Observer, said Ferguson seems reluctant to cede control of the situation in a way the kind of open-ended news conferences does. Query said former governors Gary Law, Christine Gregoire also had regular open press availabilities. He said, I don't remember any previous governors having this bizarre combination, what appears to be an obsession with media coverage and a real disinclination to interact with the press. Ferguson instead holds frequent media events on specific topics, including one last week about state health inspectors' inability to access an immigration center in Tacoma. These events typically feature multiple speakers and center on an announcement from the governor or others officials. Reporters can ask broader questions, but time is limited. And remember last week, Chris Daniels had to follow him out of the press conference. You've now turned Click Daniels into Jonathan Cho. That is not what Chris Daniels usually does. Chris Daniels, the senior reporter for Como News, it's usually that's who you get a sit down with. If you're doing something with the media around here, that's who you're talking to. But now we're finding out that this has delayed health announcements, including about the measles outbreak. So because Bob Ferguson is such a control freak, we're not getting health information from his office? Oh, weren't they the ones that just said the Trump administration wasn't reliable about this? Isn't he the one who demonizes President Trump all the time? Ironically, who is probably the most accessible president of the modern era? Probably President Trump. Whether he likes a reporter, whether he hates a reporter, he does what, like 4 or 5 press availabilities a day? He's always around the media. He'll insult them, he'll be mean to them, but they're always around. And yet Bob Ferguson sometimes sends out these press notices. It's almost like he gets there and then sends out the press notice. Okay, if you can get here in the next 5 minutes, I'll be here, but if you can't, sorry. And we know that these guys have taken people off the list before and put them back on the list till they find out you're on the list and then they take you off the list. This is the kind of nonsense they do. So tell me again about the transparency from Bob Ferguson. Tell me again about being accountable from Bob Ferguson. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Up next, my friend, speaking of not being accountable, you have Kamala Harris endorsing Karen Bass for her reelect of mayor of LA, claiming she solved the homeless problem and safety issues. We'll give you this insanity when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. There may be a chance for Los Angeles, and his name is Spencer Pratt. For those of you who don't watch reality TV, it's a little crazy to me that a reality star is the best hope for Los Angeles. Spencer Pratt was on The Hills. His wife is Heidi Montag, now Heidi Pratt. I got this education from my wife because I didn't know who any of these people were. But Spencer Pratt, his house was burned down in the Malibu fires. And so what happens is he's so mad about this. He's been ranting and raving. I shouldn't say ranting and raving. He's been screaming from the rooftops about this because his house was burned down, because there's no water in the hydrants, and because Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, was in Ghana for no reason whatsoever, even after having been warned that this could happen. So I've been watching his videos. I've been watching what he's been doing because my wife's been watching it. And she says, you got to see this. You got to see that. So I actually reached out to Spencer Pratt's campaign the other night to see if we can get him on the show. And here's the thing.
Well, then maybe I shouldn't say what I'm going to say right now.
It's fine. Go ahead. It's fine. I mean, they got to know what they're getting into, right? Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I'm very familiar with the guy because my wife watched that stupid show. Therefore, I watched that stupid show, The Hills and all that. I think he was on The Hills. He is a moron. She is a moron. It sucks what happened to their house. I get it. But you don't want this guy in charge of anything. Their last thing that they were doing was he was selling crystals.
Yeah, but he was making money selling the crystals.
Yeah, great. It's still a grift. Like, crystals are going to, I need to change the energy in the room and all this stuff.
Isn't that
hang this around my neck?
Right, but hang on a second here. To be fair for a second here, I don't know the guy. I never watched the show. I don't know anything. The Hills was the one that turns out was scripted, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was he playing a moron or was he actually a moron?
I mean, he's...
I mean, look,
whatever he does in front of the camera, he usually comes off as a moron. I haven't watched these things.
Okay, you should watch these things.
Crystal company was called Pratt Daddy Crystals.
Yeah, but that's what all these guys do after the reality shows, right? It's like, buy my tequila, buy my crystals, buy my makeup.
Tequila makes sense. You ingest it, you get a buzz, you feel good. Crystals are utter nonsense.
Yeah, okay, but people still sell other things outside landmarks, which... Some people consider utter not whatever.
You know what? Guy's probably a genius. I've got him all wrong.
I'm not saying
Let's have him lead our country at some point.
He's a reality star. It worked out okay for another reality star I know.
Exactly.
So what happens? He's running these really great campaign ads, and they're ridiculous. The most recent ones are AI, where he's like Batman and Karen Bass looks like the Joker. They're really funny, by the way. So... His first one that really got him on the map for a lot of people was when he went in front of Karen Bass's house, and he went in front of this other woman who's running for office, her house, who's a member of the DSA, and said they live in these mega mansions, and I live in a trailer on this property. You know why the trailer's on the property? This was interesting. So he's running for mayor of LA, but because his house burned down, he has to live somewhere else. So they got all mad. You're not actually living in Los Angeles. And he goes, okay, fine. So he drops a trailer on the property and goes, now I'm living in Los Angeles. You burned down my house. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how this race shapes up. But whether you like Chris Pratt, whether you like Spencer Pratt, or whether you don't like Spencer Pratt, Kamala Harris is now weighing in on the race. We all know Karen Bass is terrible. And we know the psycho-socialist who wants to replace her is a DSA member, so we know that's like what Chicago did, where instead of Lori Lightfoot, they get Brandon Johnson, who's got, like a 1% approval rating right now, which basically means his wife likes him. So Kamala Harris was asked about this race, because don't forget, she was the senator from California. And apparently they've known each other a really, really, really long time. Apparently Karen Bass was in the running to be the vice president for Joe Biden, because Joe Biden just said, find me a black woman. Don't care if they're competent enough. Just find me a black woman. And got got Kamala Harris. So here's what she said when she endorsed Karen Bass. This is what Kamala Harris said. Mayor Karen Bass is the leader Los Angeles needs right now. She has done what so many said couldn't be done. The first ever 2-year decline in homelessness, reducing crime to levels the city hasn't seen since the 1960s, and refusing to back down when the federal government came after our neighbors. Okay. Have you been to Los Angeles recently? I was in LA not too long ago. I could not believe how much worse the homelessness had gotten. Crime levels? The only reason this may have taken a drop is because you're kicking out the illegals coming across the border illegally. And then you double down and say you're mad that the federal government came after our illegal immigrant criminals that live in Los Angeles. So You're saying she fixed homelessness when she made it worse? You're saying she fixed crime when those rates have gotten worse under her role? And now you're saying she deserves to be reelected, never mind the fact that multiple neighborhoods burned down on her watch while she was out of town in Ghana for no reason after having been warned that this could happen. Yes, Kamala Harris. You know, recent polling says that Kamala Harris is the frontrunner of the Democrat Party in 2028. Oh, please let her run. Please, God, let her run. We get to bring back Deep Thoughts with Vice President Kamala Harris. I have missed that segment. That might be one of my favorite segments ever. So, yes, please let her run. Let her run, and then whoever the Republican is going to win in a landslide. Please run Kamala Harris. What do you guys think? Would you like to see Kamala Harris run again? You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, your calls and your texts, plus the feds are now getting involved in the Ohio fraud. And when are they coming here to Washington? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, today is the last day for our Red, White, and Win contest at KVI.com, where you can enter to win 2 tickets to one of these shows. We got Lionel Richie with Earth, Wind, and Fire, Santana with the Doobie Brothers, and Toto with Christopher Cross and the Romantics. Now, you can only sign up to win 2 tickets to one of these shows over at KVI.com. That's KVI.com. If you'd like to buy tickets to these shows or any of the other shows that are going to be here this summer, head on over to livenation.com because they are on sale right now. Lots of you wanted to weigh in on Kamala Harris possibly running for president. This one here, throwback to earlier part of the show, the 206 says, I'd love to hear Kamala Harris share her thoughts about the suicide dolphins. They're kamikaze dolphins, not suicide dolphins. Kamikaze dolphins. Says the stream of illogic would be fun. Becky in Enumclaw says, I think all the candidates or possible candidates that are running right now are scary. And that's Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, and J.B. Pritzker. What's even scarier is people would vote for them. I think they're all bad. But would people vote for them? Probably a percentage yes, and that's scary. I know there's more, but I can't think of all of them quite a bit. No, I think you named the top ones. I think really it comes down to Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, and Pete Buttigieg. I think that's really what it's going to be. In fact, Kamala Harris's book, which I unfortunately had to buy, and I just turned over to, oh, you're going to love this. So I went over to Half Price Books in South Center to get rid of a bunch of DVDs and get rid of books, and I got rid of the Kamala Harris book. Now, what's funny is the guys here at KVI know that book's been sitting on my desk for a while, and it had all the Post-its on it for all her dumb quotes, and I had them categorized, and I had them tagged. So I felt kind of bad giving it to Half Price Books that way, and I thought it might bring down the value. So I stood there in Half Price Books, going page by page, taking out every single Post-it so that book would be in mint condition for the $15 I got for about 50 DVDs and a couple of books.
I was going to say, for the 25 cents they gave you for that. Oftentimes when I'd go in there too, they're like, all right, we'll take these 2. We'll give you like $5 or whatever. And then they'll have like, we don't want these. And I'd be like, well, you can have them.
Right.
Because all they do is like recycle them or whatever. It's like, it's the worst.
There is no way they are making the money from selling books. They must be making their money from selling all that crap on the internet, on whatever it is, or who knows what. I don't know what they're doing. That must
when
be
they
their
get the
actual
good
business.
limited edition stuff, they probably go and sell it online somewhere.
Yeah, probably checking in all of our junk. They get the one, it's like Storage Wars. You get the one that pays off big. Zach knows, right? Zach knows. Young Zach just walked in. Back from Portland, he survived. Here he is.
Barely. Goodness. No, I was down in Nashville scouting out the new Starbucks headquarters.
Oh, were you now?
Yeah,
Check that out while you're
I think they're going to like it just fine.
Does it look like the one they have now with the big mermaid on top, or they haven't gone that far
It's
yet?
still under construction.
I gotcha. Okay.
But the coffee's going to be a bar, I think. But yeah, no, Half Price Books makes their money selling 45 records to me. Like 45 RPM records to me. 25 cents a pop. I'm keeping them afloat.
Yeah. Half Price Books. You remember that time we had all the stuff from the old station? I took it down there and I said, okay, I'll buy you guys lunch with the proceeds.
How many copies of Kirby Wilbur's book do you want?
Yeah.
Turns out none.
I came back with, what did I come back with? 2 boxes. I got a double dozen deal from Krispy Kreme for those hundreds and hundreds of CDs I brought
that's
down
right,
there.
the CD singles.
You remember all that? I brought out all the stuff from Star when it flipped formats, brought all that stuff down there. I got 2 boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts.
And I got 2 boxes. And I got 2 boxes of CDs on my shelves.
Yes, exactly. I still have a few of those around somewhere, like the special ones you're not allowed to give to them, which was a stack of them. And they go, well, what do you want to do with these? I'm like, they're yours now. So for all you know, that's how they made their money on that particular transaction.
Yeah, I can tell you I'm not killing it selling my laser discs to them either.
Well, actually, I did very well in my Laserdisc sales to this place in Renton. There was a place in Renton where I sold all my Laserdiscs and the Laserdisc players, and I did okay.
How long ago was that?
No, like 5. It was right before COVID. Oh my God, COVID was like 6 years ago. Yeah, so 6-7 years ago is when I sold all that. I didn't do too badly. The place was right over near the arcade place, 8-Bit Arcade. It was over. You never been over there? 8-Bit Arcade is great. I love that little junky place. It's all the games from our years.
Where's this at?
So in Renton, in the downtown Renton, you know, that little area where they have all like the quaint little stores that looks like it's out of the 1950s or whatever. So there's a place called 8-Bit Arcade. There's also the Berliner, which is the German bar that's over there. It's that area.
I have been there.
Yeah.
I have been there.
So They're not the ones who bought it from me. There's a store nearby which,
Yeah.
which does collectibles. It looks like the store in Back to the Future 2 where Marty McFly buys the sports almanac. It looks like that kind of place.
Yeah, is it right next door, and it's got like it's kind of stuff is everywhere in this store. It's like things are piled here and there.
Yeah, it looks like that. It looks like that. This one here, Dan says, I would rather pull my own teeth out with pliers than listen to Kamala Harris talk ever again in all of eternity. This one here, Monty says, hey, Ari, if Kamala Harris becomes the presidential candidate again, it will be indisputable proof that God does indeed love us. Oh, Jeff and Kat. Jeff is on a roll today. Are they Kamikaze Dolphins? Ah, very good, Jeff. I like that one. That's very, very good. You guys are funny today. So back to the Sound Transit one. Jeff says the Sound Transit spent $1 on the zombie ads. It was way, way, way too much, but guesses that they actually spent $20 million on the zombie ads. I find it interesting that the company wouldn't give me the numbers. I know there's confidentiality, but it's government. Now I actually got to go through public disclosure requests to find out how much they spent on this stupid ad. This one here, where I asked if I was overreacting to the zombie ads. Dan says, Jedi Master Hoffman, you are not overreacting. You are simply disappointed in their lack of faith. Yes, I said that in a Vader voice, he says. Disappointed in your lack of vision. That's very, very good. Very, very good. This one here, James, cannot believe you have said nothing about the state Supreme Court ruling on the referendum about the millionaire tax. That is the biggest news of the state of Washington today. Kevin, how many times did we talk about the referendum yesterday when the ruling came down? In fact, we had Brian Haywood on the show at 3:30, which we don't normally do interviews at 3:30, played it again at 5:30, spoke about it at 4 o'clock. We hit that 3 times yesterday.
Yeah,
3 times.
I love when someone thinks that that we need to program it for them. Like, we don't know when you're in the car. We don't know when you listen. We try to cover all of this stuff equally.
Yes.
But some people are going to miss it.
Wait, hang on. I posted the interview with Brian, which we ran twice yesterday, to social media today, and did shorter clips of it to my social media accounts, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, The Hofffather over on Twitter, which means, and The Ari Hoffman Show over on YouTube, which, by the way, I would appreciate some subscribers because they always delete all my stuff. So if you can help that out. So you could have heard it on the podcast, which you can subscribe to at whatever your preferred podcast platform is. You could have downloaded the podcast off KVI.com, and you could have seen it over at KVI.com. It's all there. It's James, I try my best, man, but we hit this hard yesterday.
You get what you pay for.
Thanks, Kevin. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. We will get to the feds getting involved in the Ohio fraud. And also, President Trump brought back the biggest nightmare of my childhood today. Tell you all about what he announced. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder so you never miss a minute of the show. There are so many ways so you never miss a minute of the show. We got the podcast on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. We got KVI.com. We got the KVI app. Everything's up and running over there. You got me over on YouTube, not the one which has videos of my kids from years and years ago.
You just went through all this.
I'm doing it again.
5 minutes ago.
I'm doing it again because apparently somebody else says they missed the talk about that. Where can they find it? I said, go to all these places. You can find all of it. It's all right there. Switching gears entirely, yesterday we told you the story, which you can also get on the podcast. We told you the story about how the Daily Wire, Luke Rosiak, who I've invited on the show, we'll see if he's able to come on the show this week or next, he had this bombshell investigative report about fraud in Ohio. Ohio's a red state, my friends. So this fraud in Ohio where you could volunteer to be, you could sign up to get paid to be a caregiver for your own relatives. I thought that's just what you do in humankind. You know, mom's not doing so well, dad's not doing so well, we'll take care of them. I thought that's what you sign up for. You split it with your siblings. That's what you do. Apparently now we have to pay people because humanity is so sunk. So I say reform the program. I say abolish the program, but you're talking about millions and millions of dollars. These companies were the go-between. Well, you don't know how to fill out that paperwork, so we'll fill out the paperwork for you and we take a cut. Luke Rosiak goes to the building where they all are. Hundreds of millions, I think it was $750 million ran through that building. Everything's empty. Nobody's there. They all say like out to lunch. Be back soon. Nobody's in that building. So more fraud. JD Vance has now announced that the fraud task force is heading to Ohio to go after all this. So my question to the fraud task force, which I sent them a couple days ago and still haven't heard back yet, is when are you guys coming to Washington? So you know what I think I'm actually going to do? Luke Rosiak talked about where he got the data from on all stuff in Ohio. I pulled up the same data, which is available on the Human Health Services website, RFK's website, and Doge had a hand in it. They've actually got all the people who are making the money off Medicaid. So maybe I just run it through a little AI, have a little fun with that, and find out how many places here in Washington, here in Seattle, are doing that because the number one Somali population is in Minneapolis. Number 2 is in Ohio. Guess where number 3 is, my friends? Right in my neighborhood in Seattle, Washington. And it's not a Somali thing. It seems like other people are doing this too. So let's go find out who's actually involved in all the fraud. Switching gears over to some good news, by the way. President Trump brought back something from my childhood, which is a double-edged sword for me. President Trump announced today that they are restarting the Presidential Physical Fitness Awards. Now, I assume you guys had these out here in Seattle, but in New York, this was a huge deal. You have to do the shuttle run with the erasers. You have to do the mile run in your school clothing. You have to do the pull-ups and the sit-ups and the sit and reach and all that. And actually, I'm actually fine with him bringing this back, even though it's starting to trigger me. I bet you I couldn't do any of the things I did for the Presidential Physical Fitness Award right now. You know what? That should be my goal for the end of summer, Kevin. Can I do the things I did for the Presidential Physical Fitness Award at the age of 45? Definitely not. I could never do the sit and reach thing. So every year we would do this thing in school, right? The sit where you're trying to touch your toes. I could never do that. I'm not flexible. It's not my gift. I could never touch my toes. Ever. Could never do it. You're looking at me weird. Yeah, I know you do like calisthenics in there when you're bored and not listening to me. You're doing your stretches in there. I could never do any of the things
Not even touch your toes.
Could never do it. Never, ever.
I mean, you don't even have that far to reach.
I know. I'm kind of short, but guess what? It's a proportion thing. Anywho, so I'll tell you this one quick story. Every year, I was never that physically fit as a child. But one year, I really wanted to do the Presidential Physical Fitness Awards. I wanted to be in the competition. And I remember I wasn't very popular at this age in middle school. I was going through a bit of an awkward phase. And what happened was they called out the names of everybody who had won. And I tried really hard that year. And I remember my gym teacher saying, and this one I'm very impressed by. I didn't think this person would actually be able to do it. And they actually did it. And this year, Presidential Physical Fitness Award goes to Ari Hoffman. And he built me up so much in that little speech. And every year after that, he's like, and look, he did better this year, did better that year. Gave me a lot of self-esteem I didn't have at that age when I had Coke bottle-looking glasses, perfectly moosed hair under my neon green Back to the Future hat. There's a reason I wasn't very popular. But anyway, that coach, because of the Presidential Physical Fitness Awards, helped give me a lot of self-esteem. So you get the guy before you today, my friends, who's not physically fit at all. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, including Katie Wilson continuing to be a national embarrassment. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, the latest on what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. And still, people think we're using the Kamikaze Dolphins on Iran. Kamikaze Dolphins? Are you kidding me? The amount of people who had questions about the Kamikaze Dolphins. Somebody sent me a link to the U.S. military has a website talking about the Kamikaze Dolphins, how they're training them to be porpoise patrol or something. I don't know. It's something crazy like that. I mean, people are really hot on the Kamikaze Dolphins. James texted me on the studio line. We had a little fun at James's expense before because he said, how come you didn't talk about the initiatives? And we mentioned we talked about them the day before. So James says he stands corrected. Then he doubles down. And James says, let's not talk about the war in Iran. After all, that happened weeks ago, so just shut up about it. James, love you, man. Appreciate you listening to the show. We discussed the war with Iran in the 3 o'clock hour. We're going to be discussing the war with Iran again in our next segment. Not this one right here. Long show, James. Long show. Lots of content. We'll talk about the Met Gala today, too, because I got some people asking about the Met Gala. We'll talk about that, but got some breaking news for you guys right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
We told you earlier in the show about how Katie Wilson is a national embarrassment because she's the one who wants to turn off all the security cameras, police cameras, all the safety cameras in Seattle because ICE is big and bad, right? And we told you that this contrasted with the latest case of a 77-year-old man who was randomly assaulted in downtown Seattle by 2 black teens. He's randomly assaulted for no reason whatsoever. He's just on his way to the drugstore, viciously beaten, and they use the cameras to catch the 2 teens. Now, King County prosecutors just sent out this notice about an update in the case. So here's what they said. They said, today there was a first appearance hearing for a 27-year-old who was arrested for an investigation of assault involving a 77-year-old man who had just stepped off a bus at 3rd Avenue and Pike Street. The investigation, which also led to the arrest of another man, was greatly assisted by Seattle Police real-time crime center surveillance camera footage. They put that in the press release. Do you know why they put it there? To be like, hey, Katie Wilson, you dum-dum, who said we shouldn't have these cameras on. We really need these cameras. You remember what Katie Wilson previously said about these cameras?
This is legislation that will expand CCTV cameras, that could potentially be taken control of by the Trump administration. And this is legislation that was opposed by immigrants' rights groups, by civil liberties groups, and by the member of color caucus in the legislature. And I'll quote from their letter. This technology, and technology similar to it, has recently been in the news for its failure to be meaningfully and consistently secured, leading to breaches that could result in sensitive data being shared by ICE and putting our immigrant and refugee communities at risk.
So, the King County prosecutor, who is not a Republican, the King County prosecutor's office, who is staffed by mostly not Republicans, the King County prosecutor, who doesn't prosecute a lot of cases I think they should prosecute, who agrees with a lot of the leftist agenda. Let me read this line to you one more time from the release from their office. The investigation, which also led to the arrest of another man, was greatly assisted by the Seattle Police real-time crime center surveillance camera footage. Katie Wilson, wrong again, and called out by a lefty Democrat because of how stupid you are. We had a suggestion earlier that we should put together a montage of all the different Democrat politicians that said we didn't need police because we have the cameras. We should have the cameras instead of police, and then see how many of them went back on their word and said, well, you don't need those cameras because of ICE, even though they pushed them. So no police, no ICE. What else do they say here? They say the 27-year-old Jessen Terrell Elion had a first appearance hearing Tuesday afternoon in King County courtroom number 1. King County prosecutors argued there was probable cause for his arrest on investigation of assault in the second degree and asked a judge to set his bail at $200,000. Mr. Elion's defense said he has not worked since being shot in 2023 and asked, okay, can we stop for a second here? Shot in 2023. How'd you get shot, Elion? How'd you get shot, Jessen? Gang violence? Something else? Or were you just in the wrong place at the wrong time? Something tells me a person who randomly beats up an old man, you may have had a little bit more to do with that than, just being accidentally in the wrong place at the wrong time. He asked for release on his personal recognizance or substantially lower bail. So because you got shot before, they should release you? His defense attorney said he strenuously denies the allegations and does not know the victim or the person arrested. You mean the fact that you're on video? Clearly on video? I should say allegedly on video. After hearing from prosecutors and defense, the first appearance judge set his bail at $100,000, which means he could be out for $10,000. He could be out for that. At a first appearance hearing, following an arrest is not the same as what's required by law for felony charging, which has a higher burden of proof. So, King County prosecutors do not have that felony case referral from police now, but anticipate getting the case referral from police investigators by Friday. For those of you who asked earlier in the show, and we were discussing this before we had this document from the King County prosecutor, like I said, it takes time to get the warrants you need to make sure you have all your ducks in a row, because if you refer that stuff to the prosecutors and you don't have a lot of the case there, then a defense attorney will make a meal out of it, especially ones who go, oh, the poor criminal who allegedly beat up a 77-year-old man for no reason has been shot before, so you have to release him. Oh, give me a break. All right, the 29-year-old who was arrested, this one here on April 30th, the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office charged 29-year-old Ahmed Abdullahi Osman with felony assault in the second degree. Prosecutors also wanted him held on $200,000 bail, and a court approved that amount for Mr. Osman. However, he's been released. He is out of custody when the charges were rush filed. So he is now the subject of a $200,000 King County Superior Court warrant for his arrest. Now, looking at these documents here, I'm going to do this in real time. You get a little peek behind the curtain of how I do this because they have these charging documents right here. Let's see if it lists criminal history. Scrolling. Police report. Let's see, are there previous? He's been previously released. Harborview Medical Center. I'm going to have to read through these a little bit more in depth when I'm not on air because you don't want to hear me saying as I'm scrolling through all these. But do you want to bet a person who's been shot before probably has a prior criminal history? That would be my guess. My guess is he probably has a criminal history. Oh, wait. Oh, hang on a second here. All right, assaulted a 78-year-old man. Yeah, don't have the rest of this. We'll have to check this out later. Anyway, Katie Wilson, proven wrong again, because Katie Wilson said we don't need these cameras. Said they're bad because ice baby. Said no on these police cameras. Well, Ahmed, one of the suspects in this case, when he was on body camera footage with the Seattle Police Department when he was being arrested, seems like he really likes that Katie Wilson lady.
I work for the state. You work for the state? You know Katie? Yeah. Yeah, I know Katie. The mayor. Yeah. That's it. That's all I'm saying. That's my last word. Is there camera? Yeah. That's it. That's all I'm saying out there. No, you're being audio and video recorded, just so you know, man.
Do you know Katie? Is that she's going to let me out of jail because I know Katie? Or is that I'm invoking the mayor card. I got friends in high places. Which one is it for that there? That's interesting. So Katie Wilson says she doesn't want the cameras. And then King County prosecutor is saying we needed the cameras. And you have lots of people saying we need the cameras. Hey, by the way, don't we have some big sporting event happening here soon? Oh, right, the World Cup. Oh, I'm sure it's fine. It's just Canada, like Britain, who's coming here. Oh no. It's Iran who's coming here. Iran is coming to play. I think those cameras could be very helpful, especially we're in the middle of a state of war with Iran. And citizens from that country are going to be coming here. And you've just announced to the world that you turned off the security cameras? Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. Now, we have somebody over here on the text line who says, Ari, I believe one of them is an illegal alien. Interesting. I'm going to have to reach out to ICE tonight and see if they actually are. See if they're actually an illegal alien. I'm sure they have a criminal history. We're going to find that out. But let me do some looking into that and find out if they do have a criminal history. We will for sure check that out. So, Jesse Proudman, you might remember him, friend of the show, local entrepreneur. He's been sounding the alarms on what's been happening in Seattle. People aren't getting prosecuted, how you have people being released, like one of these suspects in this case, but also how the fact that you have all these businesses leaving town. Because Katie Wilson, when she finds out Starbucks is leaving, she says, okay, bye. One of our listeners sent me some AI-generated hats they had made that just say bye on them from Katie Wilson, which I thought was pretty funny. Oh, no, she said like bye. I just say to them, like bye. Right, that's what she did. So they made these hats that say like bye on them. So Jesse Proudman, our local entrepreneur who's talking about all the tech people leaving town who are gearing up to leave, had a post the other night talking about how he was at a dinner party and all the couples there who are also in the same world are talking about leaving. Fox News reached out to him and did an interview with him. Here's what he said.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if the ones that leave, like bye.
It's incredibly insulting. The reality is, everybody that I know that has means to leave has either left or is in the process of leaving. Seattle used to be a place where you were excited to build something, where it was celebrated, where you could imagine creating something from nothing, and that you could manifest that. That was the culture here. We had a vibrant startup community. We had a very supportive startup community, and the ecosystem worked. It helped build the companies. And then for whatever reason, sort of over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen this shift where entrepreneurship is now villainized. And it's an unfortunate and sad shift. It's probably the least friendly place to do business I can imagine. I'm Jesse Proudman, founder and CTO at Venice.ai. We don't want to be out of Washington State. We love it here, right? Like, we want to stay, but they're forcing the hands of many people based on how they're changing the climate. You've got moderates in the middle and conservatives on the right and liberals on the left. And over time, that liberal perspective has gone farther and farther left. And the blame for the problems in the city has become focused on sort of lack of funding. And the reality is the state has collected and continues to spend substantially more money for poor results over the last 4 or 5 years.
That's exactly what we talk about all the time. The Democrats keep saying it's a money issue, it's a money issue, it's a money issue, yet they have record revenues and record spending. It's not a money issue. It's they don't want to enforce the law. It's they want to demonize commerce. They want to demonize companies. That's what it actually is. I saw this article in the New York Post. California is bleeding residents for the first time since the pandemic, with more than 50,000 leaving the Golden State last year. The California Department of Finance recorded a 0.14% decline in population statewide as of January 1st, or a net of 54,000 residents. Do you know why that is? Because they started passing wealth taxes, because they're talking about wealth taxes. So whoever's left is saying, nope, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. Not just them, by the way. New York City. New York City also seeing another drop in population. They had finally leveled out after the pandemic when everybody was leaving town. But now that you've got Zoran Mamdani in office, demonizing businesses, talking about more taxes, demonizing the wealthy, people are leaving. This is exactly what Jesse Proudman is warning about.
And so you see a detriment in the city. You see people being frustrated and angry about that. And I think they're pointing that anger at the wrong place. Jamie Pedersen is focused on implementing a statewide income tax. They're beginning with millionaires because that's an easier place to sell it. It's obvious that they intend to apply this to everybody. He said he intends to apply it to everybody. And quite frankly, its implication is that Washington will become the highest tax state in the country. It doesn't make sense to continue to live here. We're out looking for an alternative. So we're looking in Nevada, we're looking in Texas and Austin, we're looking in Nashville and Florida. And these are climates where the business community is vibrant. They're climates where the government is encouraging entrepreneurship, where they're welcoming people and they're not villainizing those who have built something. Everybody that I know that has means to leave has either left or is in the process of leaving. They've listed their homes, they're shopping elsewhere. And again, it's like, you don't want to be where you're not part of the community, where you're not, where it doesn't feel like you're welcome. And so the mayor, whose job it is to build a vibrant city, is telling the people who have built companies here, who have created jobs in this city and this state, that they're not wanted here. So Washington, as it stands right now, is already sort of the 45th to 47th worst tax state in the country. We have taxes on everything: sales tax, property tax. Our car tabs are very high. Like every place you look, there's already an incredible level of taxes. The income tax is just sort of one more layer on that. And I understand there are people that are upset with the aggressive nature of our tax structure. There are ways to change that in the state constitution. People are upset that they don't want to go through that process, like that it is a hard and challenging process that has to go to the vote of the people. The people have made it clear they don't want that. And so instead, they're trying to use this workaround to effectively label income as an excise tax, sort of bypass sort of the constitutional provisions completely. They've already talked in this last legislative session about a wealth tax. Like all of these things are absurd, and they're not friendly to the entrepreneurs that have helped make this state phenomenal. None of us want to leave. We all want to be here. We love this state. Washington used to be this beacon on the West Coast. It was a beautiful place to live that celebrated startup communities, that celebrated entrepreneurship, and that's what built particularly Seattle. You look at Amazon, Microsoft, all these technology companies that helped make Seattle known on the map and make it a phenomenal place to be. And effectively, you're saying, we don't want you anymore. You've got to change the policy. You've got to become inclusive to those that really are here to help grow and make Seattle flourish.
And it's not just the big companies like Starbucks. It's not just the big companies that are talking about getting out of here or expanding elsewhere. Don't forget how many small companies rely on those big companies. They sell them widgets or they sell them whatever else they need. Somebody sells Starbucks the cups. Somebody sells them the lids. Somebody provides them toner and paper. People do that. And so when they don't have customers anymore, they shut down or they leave. And I love how the left is always talking about, we love small business because they're not that big evil corporations. Well, guess what? A lot of these small businesses are reliant on these big corporations. New studies show 1 in 4 business owners, 1 in 4, is considering leaving Seattle. Just Seattle, 1 in 4. That's a lot of businesses, and when you look downtown, there's not that many left. Forrest Cat says, Ari, after all the wealth leaves Seattle, most of the businesses collapse. Crime and homelessness dominate the streets. Seattle will just be like just a cross between the Omega Man and Soylent Green. Yeah, Omega Man. Wasn't that the original version of I Am Legend? I think that's what that was, right? Yeah. That's what it looked like during COVID. You want to see that again? We've seen it. When my son was learning to drive, we did driver's ed in downtown Seattle because nobody was there. We ran around the Space Needle. We went everywhere because nobody was there. It was the best driver's ed you could ever have. City streets, nobody there. It was great. You want to be that way? This one here from the 360, Mayor Katie is not that bright at all, or she just doesn't care about legal citizens and will help illegal aliens. I'll tell you what I think it is. I think it's the fact that she's not bright. The people behind her are the ones running her. That's what I think it is. I think she's an empty suit. I think she's an empty head. And actually, Newsmax was asking me about this morning.
Ari, you're there. You're like last man standing, though, holding down the fort in Seattle. She was about to answer it, and that handler came in. It was so awkward. I mean, if anything, 101, the camera's rolling. You know it's going to go viral.
Yeah, my bigger concern with somebody like Katie Wilson is she's an empty vessel being used by the people around her. This is a person who constantly dodges the media, ends interviews, says stay on topic, needs lots of prep because she doesn't have a single thought in her own head. If she had an original thought in her head, it would die of loneliness. This is a person who is clearly being run by other people who have their own agenda. You can tell just by looking at her staff, the union members that are there, the radical activists that are there. And so they want her on message, and they know she's not capable of taking any topic, any questions on any topic that's not related to what's going on at hand, because she can't even handle those.
Exactly. I agree with me. That guy sounds like a smart guy, that Ari Hoffman guy. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss, including gas prices are still going up. So what's the latest in the Hormuz Strait? What is happening with the latest operation? We'll give you all the details. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, today is the last day of our Red, White, and Win contest over at KVI.com. You can enter to win 2 tickets to one of these shows, Lionel Richie with Earth, Wind, and Fire, Santana and the Doobie Brothers, or Toto with Christopher Cross and the Romantics, and you can only enter right now at KVI.com. Today is your last chance to enter this contest, so head on over to KVI.com right now. And if you want to get tickets to see these shows because you don't win, head on over to LiveNation.com. There was a very entertaining moment earlier today, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and any fan of Austin Powers will thoroughly enjoy. Apparently, the U.S. is being accused of using kamikaze dolphins on the Iranians. This was the response from General Raisin Kane.
Can you kind of clarify these reports of kamikaze dolphins that we've heard about?
I haven't heard the kamikaze dolphin thing. It's like sharks with laser beams, right?
Sharks with laser beams on their heads? Are they evil sharks? Yes, an evil shark. Sharks with laser beams on their heads. Can we get those? Those sound awesome. I'm feeling an AI video coming on tonight, or maybe a meme tonight. Pete Hegseth riding a shark with a laser beam on its head, or a kamikaze dolphin right towards the Iranians. What did Pete Hegseth have to say about all this?
And I can't confirm or deny whether we have kamikaze dolphins, but I can confirm they don't, ultimately.
Kamikaze dolphins. This is great. Absolutely great. Now, one of our listeners said that in the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance for the Marine Mammal Program, yes, this is a real website, by the way, that apparently we have reconnaissance dolphins, we have Navy dolphins, and sea lions. Okay. Sorry. Living the most ridiculous timeline. Absolutely ridiculous. So Marco Rubio was fielding questions from the press today because Caroline Leavitt is on maternity leave. He did a great job, by the way. Did an absolutely great job. And what are they obsessed with? Well, are you continuing the war because you're past your 60 days? What are you actually doing with Project Freedom? Well, here's Rubio laying it out for everybody.
As you know, over the weekend, the president announced this Project Freedom. And the goal of it is to, frankly, if you want to talk about it, it's to rescue like almost 23,000 civilians from 87 different countries that are trapped inside of the Gulf and left for dead in the Persian Gulf by this Iranian regime. You know, for more than 2 months now, these innocent sailors and commercial crew members have been stranded out at sea because Iran is conducting something that's not just criminal. It's criminal for sure, but it's desperate and destructive, this blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. Nations from around the world, the overwhelming majority of whom are not even engaged in any military hostilities, are now at risk not just of losing their cargo, but the lives of their own citizens because of this blockade. These ships, you know, you don't leave a ship out there for this long. You start running out of food, you start running out of potable water, essential supplies, and they're at the mercy of this piracy. And what it is, it's piracy. And not only that, but some of them have seen, you know, been opened fire on and rained down senseless attacks on several civilian ships already. So frankly, the way to put it, these are innocent bystanders. These are countries that, and ships and so forth that have nothing to do with any of this, and nonetheless are being caught in the middle of it and being held hostage merely because Iran could do that, just because of, just as the regime brutally slaughtered tens of thousands of their own citizens for the crime of peaceful protest.
Exactly right. He's exactly right. We keep forgetting there's over 1,000 ships that are trapped. Not because of our blockade, we're trapping the Iranian ships. No, it's because they said they mined the strait. They're attacking the ships that are going through. So now the U.S. is escorting these ships through there so they can actually get through. But the press is obsessed with Operation Epic Fury. How long did it go on for? I don't remember you guys being like, hey, wait a minute, that war with Vietnam, right? The president didn't actually declare that one. How about the one in Iraq or Afghanistan? Or how about any of these other wars? I don't remember anybody saying when Barack Obama just decided to take out Gaddafi. I don't remember them saying, did you have the right to do that? Could you do that? So what's the story with Operation Epic Fury?
Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal. He would prefer to sit down, work out a memorandum of understanding for future negotiations that touches on all the key topics that have to be addressed, a full opening of the strait so the world can get back to normal. He preferred that be negotiated through the route that Steve and Jared have been working and that all of us have been supporting. That's the route he prefers. That is so far not the route that Iran has chosen. And so the result has been that the United States has to do something about the fact that we're the only nation on earth that can do anything to open up a lane within the Straits of Hormuz to get product and to rescue these people that are trapped in there. And that's what we're undergoing now. What that may lead to in the future is speculative. I'm not going to speculate about what it would take or what it would do. But look, the message to Iran, these guys are facing, they are facing real catastrophic destruction to their economy, generational destruction to their economy, generational destruction to the wealth of their country, imposed on themselves by the actions that they're taking. They should check themselves before they wreck themselves in the direction that they're going.
Check themselves before they wreck themselves. I love this guy. All Iran had to do was stop sponsoring terror, give up nuclear weapons, and be normal members of the world. Instead, they chose to fund terror. They chose to attack countries through their terror proxies, including the United States and Israel, and pursue nuclear weapons to blow up the United States and Israel. So, the press is obsessed with war powers, even though they didn't seem to care when Barack Obama was droning everybody out of existence. Here's what Marco Rubio said.
Look, guys, I love talking about this topic. It's about the War Powers Act. Yeah. Okay, I love it. I was hoping somebody would ask. All right, hold on. No, boy, you don't let me answer. I got to answer the question. Okay. And I love it. I'll tell you why I love it. Because even as a senator, I said something. The War Powers Act is unconstitutional, 100%. Now, this is not the position of me, not the position of the President of the United States now. This is the position of every single president that has occupied this position since the day that law passed. It's completely unconstitutional. Now, we comply with it in terms of like notification because we want to preserve good relations with Congress, right? And we do that. But even as a senator, I would say that the War Powers Act is 100% unconstitutional. And look, I know some of you, whatever you want to say, but this is not this president's position. That has been the position of every single presidential administration since the day that law passes. An infringement on the president's constitutional powers. We don't acknowledge the law as constitutional. Nonetheless, we comply with elements of it for purposes of maintaining, good relations with Congress. And we want them to be involved and we want them to be informed. I have gone on Capitol Hill, 4 times this year for all senators and all House members and Intel Committee and Gang of Eight. We want them to be involved in this, but I want to be clear on the point of the War Powers Act. It's unconstitutional, and every president and every administration has taken that position.
I think if he keeps up with this, Caroline Levitt's not going to have to come back from vacation. I think that's what's going to happen here. So, have we accomplished the objectives that we set forward? Yes, he laid them all out very, very clearly. Talked about how they were killing their own people. Talked about their nuclear ambitions. Talked about how their navy's at the bottom of the sea and their military's been completely destroyed. Does it feel like to you that the press is on the other side of this, like they're rooting for the regime? Kind of seems like to me sometimes that that's exactly what they're cheering for. Up next, people in New York are cheering for weird things. Have you seen what they're wearing to the Met Gala, whatever it is? Craziness from this, absolute craziness. But there were still lefty protesters to the lefty event. I'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just want to remind you guys, today is your last chance, the last chance to enter our Red, White, and Win competition. That's right. You can enter to win 2 tickets to one of these shows, Lionel Richie with Earth, Wind, and Fire, Santana and the Doobie Brothers, or Toto featuring Christopher Cross and the Romantics. You can only enter at KVI.com. Head on over to KVI.com right now for your chance to win. And if you don't win today, head on over to LiveNation.com so you can buy tickets for these amazing, incredible events. Well, the Met Gala, how do you pronounce that? Gala. We'll just go with Gala. The Met Gala was last night, and I don't understand this thing. I've been to the Met. It's not my cup of tea because I'm not particularly an art person. I mean, it's got some fun stuff, like it's got the Egyptian pyramids in it. It's got the baseball cards. It's got the suits of armor. I actually used to ditch class and go to the Met because my high school was up there because it was convenient. Good place for dates. But you know what? It's a lot of artsy stuff that I'm just not so big on. I liked it best in I Am Legend, where he's fishing in the pools outside of the Egyptian temple. I think it was actually deleted from the movie cut. It's on the DVD. Anywho.
Did you sell that one to Half Price Books?
I think I held on to my I Am Legend. I like the I Am Legend one. Plus, it got the alternate ending on there. So you check that, which makes no sense. The alternate ending makes no sense whatsoever.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, as I was explaining to you off air, because Fox is showing a montage of this Met Gala nonsense.
Yes.
I get viscerally angry at this stuff. It makes me so mad because it's like trolling, but they're pretending it's not trolling. They take it seriously.
Yeah.
And that bugs me to no end.
Here's what my problem with it. So I understand you wanting to be artistic. I get that. And show off fashion, even though it's an art gallery, but sure. When did this weird cosplay nonsense come in? Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is dressed as an old man with a cane. If you want to have a costume party, have a costume party.
But that's what I'm saying. But then they talk about it like this is art. They're like, oh, look at this. Look what you did. And it's like, it
makes no sense.
I know art is subjective, but like this is absurd.
Art is not subjective.
What are we doing?
Art is not subjective. I disagree. Okay? Here's why. There was this thing in my school. Clearly, they were big on modern art when I was in high school. And they had this thing, which we just called the big ugly orange thing. I'll meet you at the big ugly orange thing. Because it was just this weird orange thing that hung on the wall. And we just said, we'll meet you at the big ugly orange thing. That's what it was called. Nobody thought that thing was cool. I never heard one person go, stop calling it the big ugly orange thing. That is objectively ugly. And we had that thing in my school. Some of these things are objectively crazy. Absolutely crazy. But then they outwoked themselves today. This was a post, and I'm just reading this here from Not the Bee. The black immigrant transgender woman with quadriplegic cerebral palsy achieves new woke high score at the Met Gala. All other competitors in the woke Olympics can stop now. We found the undisputed winner, because this was the post on Twitter. Erin Rose Phillip arriving at the Met Gala. First black transgender woman with quadriplegic cerebral palsy signed to a major agency, breaking barriers with every step. This is what real representation looks like. Erin Rose Phillip is a black man with cerebral palsy from the Caribbean island of Antigua who dresses up like a woman. The far-left world of celebrity elites has been obsessed with him since 2021, featuring him in Vogue and other outlets none of us read. After he showed up at the 2026 Met Gala, the world gushed over his appearance. Just look at this headline from International Business Times UK. 10 photos of Erin Rose Phillip making history as the first trans-disabled model at the Met Gala. I don't understand this, guys. I really just don't. So I'm looking at Beyonce here. Beyonce has a dress that I can't tell is supposed to be the Statue of Liberty or the front of the New York casino in Las Vegas. Somebody's dressed like a mountain. Somebody is actually dressed like a mountain at this thing. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Somebody else looks like they have an alien reaching around there. What is this? This is not art. This is who's the craziest. You know Heidi Klum every year for her Halloween party?
Yeah.
She does some big crazy costume. They stopped being costumes a long time ago, and they started just being weird. Like that bird thing she did where you didn't know she was a bird until 10 people came out behind her to be the peacock feathers.
I'm just looking at some nitwit right now that has a dollar bill like on her face for like goggles.
I see
like,
that
almost
one.
Like it's almost like a Lone Ranger mask made out of a dollar bill, but it's just straight up just a dollar bill covering their eyes.
I don't get it. You can't even see where you're going. Here's what, Cardi B. Cardi B looks like fungus that grew on a package of meat that you allowed to go bad that night, and it just kind of sprung all this this bacterial stuff. I don't understand this. Heidi Klum, dressed as like a sculpture.
Yeah,
but it looks like she melted in the heat or something. I don't understand this. I really just don't.
Well, it's because your brain and my brain cannot assess or just don't have the mental capacity.
Oh, is that
for
it?
this kind of fine art? Don't you understand this?
Oh, is that it?
Yes.
You know, I like art.
Like, you could never understand it, Ari. Neither
Clearly.
could I.
Clearly, I can't. I don't know. I like my art. Like if it's a picture of a boat, I want to see a boat. If it's a picture of fruit, I want to see the fruit. If it's a picture of an ocean, I want to see an ocean.
If it's a hand-drawn picture of Spider-Man, great.
Show it to me. Cool. I love it. That's great. Show me that. I know what that is. Right. Like, so the other day, I go to Marshall's to have something framed for my father for Father's Day. I go inside and there's a balloon and it's Spider-Man. And hey, it's a full Spider-Man balloon. I mean, it's even Spider-Man. Not just him on a balloon. It's a Spider-Man balloon next to the R2-D2 balloon. And I'm like, that's R2-D2. That's Spider-Man. That's awesome. I don't understand this. I really don't. Look, my kids do incredible things with Legos. And the Lego Man, who we love, I love the Lego Man, does incredible things. Would I call that art? I call it more, I don't know if I call it art. I think it's cool. I think it's amazing. I think it's incredible. I don't know if that's the term I'd use for it. My son built the Enterprise out of Lego. Is that art? I don't know if I call it art.
I think what it's become is every year they do this thing and then knuckleheads like us talk about it and
Yes.
they get exactly what they wanted.
Yes, exactly.
Like I said, I've been in this room for coming up on 3 hours now, and I've probably seen it 5 times on Fox News, and I don't know how many times on CNN on this other TV.
Ah, yes, they are now bipartisan because everybody's making fun of how ridiculous they actually look. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into your evening commute. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Got lots of good news here today. So this one is great. This one comes from Cairo 7, nearly half a century after Ezel's famous chicken established roots in Seattle. Opening up shop across from Garfield High School in 1984, the beloved chicken joint's owner has plans to make his lifelong dream of franchising nationwide. There's a couple of them around, right? So Louis Rudd said that they're now going to expand them to other places. He said that the plan was originally to expand them before COVID-19 and that he's been wanting to do this for years and years, but just didn't work out. So now he's going to get back on track with his expansion. And now Kevin and Zach are going to be shocked to hear me say this, but I love Ezel's Chicken. And both of you are going to be like, how have you had Ezel's Chicken? Because that place for sure ain't kosher, right? So that was my first thought, right?
How do you feel about Heaven Sent?
I've never had the Heaven Sent. I've had the Ezel's.
You don't know the feud.
Clearly I don't.
We don't have time.
Okay. Well, yeah, we kind of do. Anyway.
And I think Heaven Sent is now no more.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't.
There's no more Heaven Sent?
Yeah.
You say it was sent to heaven?
Yeah. Anyways, how? Okay, so how?
So what happened was years ago, we did a fundraiser where we're trying to be like, hey, it'd be really cool to eat this kind of food. What if we come and make it in the synagogue with the right ingredients? So Louis Rudd, the guy from Ezel's, came to my synagogue, did a whole fundraiser. It was amazing. It was incredible, very tasty. And then probably one of the worst things I ever did as a youth director happened that night. So I promised the
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't do anything scandalous, nothing like that. What happened? You get out of here, get your head out.
That's some clickbait.
So what happens? The kids acted as waiters at this event, the teenagers, right? And I said, okay, guys, you can't eat at the event, but because you're working and serving, but I will have them make extra chicken for you. And we'll have an event the next night for you guys with the chicken that they make. Great, wonderful, fantastic. So I come in that night and I go, hey guys, where's the chicken for the kids? And they go, we didn't make any. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to kill me because it was right there and we had extras and we sent some home. Kids are going to be so mad. So I go to the local Jewish caterer. I'm like, dude, I need you to do me a salad. I need you to make the best fried chicken you've ever made your entire life. Like the best chicken ever. And he goes, do you have the recipe? I go, no, he wouldn't give it to us. Louis Rudd's like just right there. And he goes, all right, I'll just make him the fried chicken we always make. I'm like, great. Just make it like really good, fresh, whatever. So I bring it to the youth lounge and I'm like, hey guys, I got chicken for you. And they go, this is the best chicken I've ever. It's the same chicken they always got from the kosher caterer. It's just flaming it for them. Huh?
Moral of the story is you just lied.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the same guy I know.
To them. Sorry?
Same guy I know?
No, not that
different guy.
Okay. Different guy entirely. Not the guy you know. Totally different guy. So yes, it was, would you call that bait and switch? I don't know, whatever it was that I did. But yes, they thought it was the best chicken they ever had. So if you're listening now, kids, I'm sorry. Really, really sorry. But you know what? I had no other option. Maybe I should call it Mr. Rudd. See if he wants to do that fundraiser again at the synagogue. That was delicious chicken. Delicious, delicious chicken. Anywho, so now they say they're going to be franchising. In other news around here, by the way, this one here. So today I spoke earlier on the show about how President Trump brought back, the Presidential Physical Fitness Awards. So out on the White House today, they had all these kids doing different kinds of sports on the White House lawn. A group of kids was actually out there doing golf stuff. I don't know a lot about golf. And President Trump came out to give them golf lessons. My favorite part, and this doesn't really translate to audio only, but what happens is they have all this music playing. All this music is playing. You can't hear what Trump is saying to the kids, but clearly he's good with the kids. And the YMCA comes on. And so what happens is you see Trump start doing the Trump dance and all the kids start doing the Trump dance with President Trump. I mean, that's an amazing moment. I really like that. But President Trump is a guy who's really, really good with the kids. Some of them came to the Oval Office for the official signing of this. And here's what that sounded like.
I want to go out and watch these great athletes. I'm not talking about him and him and him. I'm talking about these kids because I think you're going to be far better as an athlete than anybody behind you. Okay, do you agree? I think you're going to be a better athlete. What sport do you play?
I play football.
Oh, there you go. Do you think you're going to be better than him? You'll be faster. You're going to be so much faster than him. He's going to be like lightning. He was known for his speed, by the way.
Because he's got professional athletes in the room with him, and he's telling these little kids they're going to be better athletes than them, which is just adorable. This is a guy who clearly interacts with his grandkids. This is a guy who clearly knows how to be around kids. He's a real human being. So really sweet moments there. And then lastly, we got this one today. So Jewish American Heritage Month. I didn't even know this thing existed. I really had no clue this thing was even a thing, and I'm pretty Jewish. President Trump declared Jewish American Heritage Month yesterday. And he wrote in this thing that he's actually calling on all Jewish Americans to observe a national Sabbath from sundown of Friday, May 15th to nightfall of Saturday, May 16th in honor of America's 250th birthday. So what do you think I did right away? I emailed everybody in the synagogue. I'm like, guys, presidential proclamation. We got to go all out. So we're going to do the American flags, and we're going to have a whole thing at the synagogue. But more than that, he called on all Americans to celebrate their faith and freedom throughout this year, including this month, and to do Sabbath. Take a break from your phones, my friends, just like Charlie Kirk says. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.